Hello, today we're going to talk about some of the more dramatic punctuation types, which are dashes, ellipses, and hyphens. And we're going to discuss them so that you can know what kind of pauses to put in a sentence. There's different levels of pause you can put into a sentence depending on what you're trying to pull off and how long you want the reader to stop or take a breath. For example, if you want a full stop or a division between sentences, you're going to obviously put a period, question mark, or exclamation point. But if you only want medium pause between phrases and clauses, or the most temporary of breaths, maybe you'll do a colon or a semicolon or a comma. If you want an even shorter pause to show a breath or hesitation or emphasis, that's where these three come in. And unfortunately, these three punctuation marks are often forgotten or misused or ignored completely because not everyone knows the rules for them, when in reality they're great options to put into a sentence. So the first one is an ellipsis. Don't confuse them with an ellipse in math, first of all. The spelling's important. And please only put 3 dots. For some reason in texting and in informal writing, people have started to put really long amounts of dots, like 4 or 5 or more, or only 2, and it's only supposed to be 3. And again, you use these to show hesitation in dialogue. For example, in a fiction book, maybe you'll say, are you sure? Or, he went that way. So again, these can show breath or hesitation or pausing or an interruption even. You can also use ellipses when you're citing just an excerpt of a direct quote. If you want to skip some words in what you're citing and just show certain parts of a sentence or an excerpt, put an ellipsis in. For example, you can skip the beginning of the sentence and just quote some of it, like the ending. You can skip a chunk out of the middle of a sentence, or you can start a sentence and then show an ellipse, use an ellipse to show that the sentence would still keep going afterward. These ellipses are considered extremely important when you're citing and direct quoting because it shows the reader that there are other words that were originally there, and therefore you, the writer, might be taking something out of context, or maybe you're picking and choosing what to include. It's an honesty thing, and it's an important rule in citing. Dashes and hyphens are also commonly misused. There are 2 types of dashes that get commonly mixed up. For example, there's the N dash, which is only 1 dash and it's shorter. And it acts kind of like the word through because it often represents a range of items. It can also go with a prefix like pre-World War II or prepay. So if I want to show May through September, or June 30th through August 2nd, or pages 146 through 159, then I'd use just an N dash. I might use an M dash, which is the longer one, and it's 2 dashes long, if I'm using them as bullet points, or interruptions in a sentence, like in a positive or a non-restrictive phrase or clause. And M dashes behave a little bit like commas. They can't do everything a comma can do, but again, it can be used acceptably for that interruption in the middle of a sentence. Hyphens connect 2 words that are closely related and are functioning together as one single concept. So I would use a hyphen to connect 2 words that go together and are almost like a compound word, like a toll-free phone call, or 2/3 cup. So 2/3 are, 2 and third are like technically 2 different numbers, but I'm using them as one unit, as one measurement, so I'm connecting them with a hyphen. Or if you have a word like well-being or 19th century to describe what kind of author, then you'd want to represent them as one cohesive item. If you recognize this, you've probably seen women who are married who hyphenated their 2 last names together, and that's okay too. And that's something that correctly uses a hyphen. So here's a quick practice. Since the hyphen, M dash, and N dash often get mixed up, and understandably so, I have put some underscores in places that some sort of dash or hyphen should go in. I want you to see if you can identify what kind of dash or hyphen should go in that spot. Take a quick look. And if you think you're ready, let's look at the answers. Jada Pinkett Smith is Will Smith's wife. That's a hyphen to represent her two married last names. My brother-in-law likes playing his Xbox. These are hyphens again because I'm trying to express brother-in-law as one cohesive thing. Ditto for odd-numbered problems, but I'm using an N dash to connect this range of page numbers. I also use N dashes with the prefix pre, such as pre-Civil War era. I use a hyphen again for 1/4 cup, and an M dash, the longer one, for interruptions in the middle of a sentence, like this non-restrictive clause, whose name is Elvis. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.